In the quiet village of Akanbi, hidden between thick forests and dusty red roads, people believed three things with all their hearts: that the land was blessed, that the ancestors watched over them, and that nothing truly stayed secret forever. For generations, the village lived peacefully. Farmers rose with the sun, women sold roasted corn in the market, and children ran barefoot between mud houses, laughing loudly enough to wake the birds. Life in Akanbi was simple and predictable, until the sickness came. It started with old Mama Said. One morning she complained of dizziness. By evening she was weak. 2 days later she was gone. At first people said it was old age, but then it happened again and again. Soon the sickness spread through the village like a whisper carried by the wind. People who looked healthy in the morning would suddenly grow pale, weak, and feverish by nightfall. Their bodies trembled, their eyes turned dull, and within days they were buried beneath the mango trees behind the village. Fear slowly replaced laughter in Akanbi. The market grew quieter, mothers held their children closer. The herbalists tried everything they knew: roots, leaves, strange bitter drinks, but nothing worked. Even the village chief, Baba Akinwali, began to worry. At night, he would sit outside his compound, staring at the dark sky, wondering if the ancestors had abandoned them. Then one afternoon, a stranger arrived. He came walking along the dusty road with a small black Bible in his hand and a worn leather bag on his shoulder. He wore a white shirt, black trousers, and the calm smile of someone who believed the world would always listen to him. "My name is Pastor Daniel," he told the villagers. His voice was gentle but confident. "I was led here." People in Akanbi were suspicious at first. Strangers rarely visited their forgotten village. But Pastor Daniel spoke kindly, prayed loudly, and quoted scripture so beautifully that even the oldest elders nodded in approval. Within a week, he began holding evening prayer meetings under the large Iroko tree near the center of the village. And something strange began to happen. The sick started recovering. A young boy who had been unable to walk suddenly stood up during one prayer session. A woman whose fever had lasted for days woke up the next morning completely healed. Word spread quickly. "God has sent us a miracle worker," the villagers said. Soon, people from neighboring villages started traveling to Akanbi just to see Pastor Daniel pray. But miracles have a funny way of creating questions, and questions have a funny way of finding answers. The first person to feel something was wrong was Mama Bisi, the village gossip. Mama Bisi knew everything about everyone. She knew who borrowed money and never paid it back. She knew which couples were secretly fighting. She even knew which goats belonged to which households. One night after prayer, she noticed something strange. Pastor Daniel never stayed in the small church hut the villagers built for him. Instead, when everyone had gone home, he quietly walked toward the forest. Mama Bisi squinted her eyes. "What kind of pastor walks into the forest at midnight?" she muttered. Of course, curiosity is stronger than fear, especially for people like Mama Bisi. So the next night, she followed him, carefully, quietly, step by step through the darkness. Pastor Daniel walked deep into the forest until he reached a clearing surrounded by tall, twisted trees. Mama Bisi hid behind a large rock and watched. Pastor Daniel placed his bag on the ground. Then something happened that made her heart nearly stop. The gentle, smiling pastor suddenly began speaking in a strange language. The air grew cold. The wind started moving in circles. From his bag, he brought out small objects: bones, feathers, and a dark bowl filled with thick red liquid. Mama Bisi covered her mouth. "Blood," she whispered. Pastor Daniel drew strange symbols in the dirt and continued chanting. Then he raised his hands to the sky. "I have done my part," he said to the darkness. "Now give me the power." The wind howled louder. The bowl of red liquid began bubbling as if it were boiling. Mama Bisi trembled behind the rock. She had just discovered something terrible. Pastor Daniel's miracles were not coming from God. They were coming from something else, something darker. But Mama Bisi was not the only one keeping secrets in Akanbi. The next morning, the pastor healed 3 more villagers. The crowd cheered. "Man of God! Prophet! Sent from heaven!" Pastor Daniel smiled humbly, but inside his mind, a storm was brewing. You see, the strange illness that had been killing villagers was not a coincidence. It had been created. Years earlier, Pastor Daniel had been a desperate man, a failed preacher with no church, no followers, and no money. One night in the city, he met a mysterious old man who offered him power. But power always has a price, the old man warned. Daniel agreed anyway. The ritual gave him supernatural healing abilities. But the power needed something to feed on: human life. And so Daniel found the perfect plan. He would secretly spread a spiritual sickness wherever he went. Then he would publicly heal people. Villages would worship him, offer him gifts, build him churches, and his fame would grow. Akanbi was supposed to be just another stop, but something had gone wrong. The sickness had grown stronger than he expected. People were dying faster than he could control. Even worse, someone had seen him. Mama Bisi ran straight to the chief that morning. "Baba Akinwell, I saw something terrible." But the chief frowned. "Mama Bisi," he sighed, "you have accused 3 people this month already. But this time I'm serious. No more gossip." She left, frustrated. Meanwhile, the pastor continued performing miracles. But greed had begun spreading among the villagers. Soon, people started competing for his attention. Rich farmers brought him goats. Merchants offered money. Women cooked expensive meals, hoping he would pray for their families first. Even the chief began secretly hoping Pastor Daniel would bless his compound specially. But there was one person who never trusted him: a quiet young teacher named Sola. Sola noticed something others ignored. The pastor's miracles always happened dramatically in public. But when someone was sick privately, he delayed, almost as if he needed time. One evening, Sola approached Mama Bisi. "I believe you," he said quietly. Mama Bisi's eyes widened. Finally, someone with sense. Together, they began watching the pastor. And what they discovered shocked them even more. Every time Pastor Daniel healed someone, another villager would fall sick within 2 days. It was like a trade, one life exchanged for another. But the biggest twist came one night when Sola followed the pastor to the forest himself. This time, he saw something Mama Bisi had missed: the bowl of blood, the bones, and a small photograph placed in the center of the ritual circle. The photograph was of Chief Akinwale. Sola's heart nearly stopped. The pastor was preparing something bigger, something that would change the entire village. The next morning, Sola gathered the elders secretly, but betrayal was already waiting in the room, because one of the elders had already made a deal with Pastor Daniel in exchange for wealth and protection. When Sola finished explaining everything, the elder laughed loudly. "Young man," he said, "do you realize you are accusing the man saving our village?" The others began murmuring angrily. "You are jealous? You want attention? You want to destroy the pastor?" Within minutes, Sola found himself dragged outside. The pastor watched from a distance, smiling. But that night, the village learned a painful truth. Power built on darkness always collapses, and secrets always rise to the surface. The strange illness suddenly spread faster than ever. 10 villagers fell sick overnight. Even the chief's wife collapsed. Panic returned to Akanbi. Crowds ran to Pastor Daniel begging for help. But this time, the pastor could not control what he had started. The dark power demanded a greater sacrifice. Akanbi had become a trap. And when the final secret was revealed before the entire village, the same people who once called him miracle worker would be the ones chasing him into the forest. because the man who saved their lives was the same man who had been slowly destroying them all along. And the night the truth came out, Akanbi would never be the same again.